I'm Fadza.
I'm Dylan.
And welcome to the podcast where we discuss the things we love,
The things we hated,
and the things that made us say,
what? In the noughties. Hi, Fadzi.
Hello, Dylan.
How are you?
I'm feeling a lot better now that I've left that terrible job.
Good.
Yeah, they kept calling me because I quietly quit. Well, no, there's a difference. I loudly quit. 'Cause quietly quitting is when you just stop doing the work. I just didn't turn up. And then I sent an email being like, a very abrupt incident has occurred that means I will no longer be able to work for you. Thank you for thank you for all that you've done, and goodbye.
Not abrupt. The abrupt reasoning is I planned on not working for you anymore.
The abrupt reason is I start my new job next week. So it is abrupt. But
I've been there for about 2 months now, so yeah.
yeah.
That's great.
And I think they took it well. I mean, I've been getting calls every other hour.
Well, they're probably worried about you.
But the thing is, they never sent me a message.
They probably just want to check. They're doing wellness checks. There's going to be someone knocking at your door. There's going to be a police officer that comes. And they're like, we had a report of an abrupt incident at this residence.
It was pretty violent, to be fair.
What, you're quitting?
Yeah, because I just didn't respond. Because on Friday, he was like, the last thing we want you to do is quit. And I was like, no, never. And then I just never show up again. On Monday, I said I had tonsillitis, and then I just didn't show up.
I probably think you're dead.
I sent that message at like 9 o'clock at night. Yeah, they probably do think they are probably worried. Yeah.
They
The
think
thing is,
I would think that you either got sectioned or that you're in hospital or someone you love is in hospital. That would be one of the three.
the thing is, why didn't he just email me, or why didn't he leave a voicemail to call me back? Every time they've called, nobody leaves a voicemail. I'm never going to answer a call from a number I don't know unless they've left a voicemail to be like, this is who it is. I'm not just going to ring back a random number. Sorry.
Yeah, same. I
And
I do the thing where I Google the number when it's calling me.
Yeah, and I don't like, if it's an 015, then that's fine, because you know that like maybe it's a job, maybe it's the doctor's office, like it just is like more reliable. But when it's like a random 07 number, then I'm like a bit suspicious.
What the hell is this?
Yeah. So I didn't answer, and we parted ways on very bizarre circumstances, I think. But my kit is being returned tomorrow, so that will be the end of that.
Well, I'm glad that cycle's over for you.
Goodbye to that chapter of my life. What about you? What are you up to?
Me, I don't really know anymore. I think like I was doing like a class and that ended yesterday. So now I'm just like, I'm just waiting for someone to want to give me a job, but it doesn't seem to be happening. I'm not there. This isn't going to turn into a rant about me applying for jobs. But just know that it's been a tricky couple months. It's been tricky, but hopefully somebody will want me to do something soon. Oh, what a downbeat.
No, I'm sure they will. Even if you look for volunteering as well.
Maybe, yeah.
Or like just day experiences, because I think they just want like more evidence that you're interested and can do the job. Not just interested, but also can do it. So
the really annoying thing is that like there aren't a lot of internships, but like the ones that are there, like I don't fit the criteria. Because it's like it's either like the latest one that I saw was like for like I won't go into the details, but it's like you have to fit like a certain criteria because they're trying to expand the amount of people that are doing there or that are being folded into publishing. And the only one that I know of what I fit the criteria doesn't open its applications until August. So like until then, I'm like, well,
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I can go to events and stuff. I think that's what I'll do, and I'll try and put those on my CV as well and see
Mhm.
if that's any better. Oh my gosh, do you know what? This is slightly related to our topic this week, but also I just wanted to share it with you. Have you seen this show called Jury Duty that's coming out? It actually looks really good. I'm definitely gonna watch it, I think. It's
No.
basically actually, it's so related to what we're doing today, and I thought of it because I sent it to Charlene, and Charlene didn't seem like she seemed pretty nonplussed about it. She just went, "Oh, that looks weird," and I was like, "Oh, okay." But basically, the show is a trial that's meant to be like televised, but everybody in the show is an actor except for one guy.
Oh,
Who thinks
one
that everything's real?
person.
Yeah, and it has what's his name, James Marsden or something like that. The guy who was in I know him from Sonic the Hedgehog movie, but I know he's in a lot more things from like the early 2000s. Don't ask me why I watched that. But he's in it and he's playing himself. He's playing like an arrogant version of himself. Because like the judge at one point is like asking him why James Marsden can't be in it. He's like, well, I'm a notable and reputable figure in the world, and the judge is like, well, I don't know who you are, sir, so sit back down. But it looks
Yeah.
really funny. It's like all of them playing a prank on him. I think it's like 7 or 8 episodes.
In case people don't know, James is the guy from Dead to Me and Enchanted. That guy.
Enchanted, that's where I know him from. Oh, and Dead to Me, yeah, I do know him from that as
Yeah.
well. Yeah, I know. I don't know why Sonic the Hedgehog was my point of reference. That seemed stupid on my end.
He's in Hairspray as well. Did you watch
Yeah,
that?
he was. I've seen so many things with him in. Why
Yeah.
did I pick a film that I genuinely to this day don't know why I watched that film? It was actually okay. Do you know what? I do know I watched it. It's because Ben Schwartz is in it, and I really liked Ben Schwartz, but that's a tangent for another time. Anyway,
Yeah. No, sorry to go off topic, but I just want to say my goal this year, this summer even, is to go to the cinema a bit more. I do quite love the cinema.
I don't really like films. I don't like watching films that much. I feel like I've said this to you before. I
Yeah,
find it
I
really
always forget.
painful. I find it really painful when I'm with a group of friends and they're like, "Should we watch a film?" I'm like, "That is literally
Why? Because you can't concentrate on them. You just don't
no." I
like.
just like I don't know what it is. There's just something about films that I'm like I'm never ever like I never sit down in the evening and I'm like I want to watch a film today. And that's not to say that I don't enjoy the films that I've watched. I normally do end up enjoying them, but it's just like I don't know. I think especially like because films are getting longer and longer and longer. I'm getting less and less interested. Like
Mm,
anything over 90 minutes is really that's a push. If you tell me if I click on like the pause button and there's still like over an hour and a half left, then I just want to cry. And I rarely like I can watch films, but I would normally have to do it in like 2 or 3 sittings. It's really weird. I don't know. Maybe it's an attention thing, maybe not. Because I can sit and watch like a whole
interesting.
series of a show in a day. But like try and
Yeah,
get me to watch a 2 hour film, that's hard. I
I'm
think
really
the
having
last
trouble with finishing films though, finishing TV shows even.
mm, I have that as well. I still haven't finished I know you haven't watched it, but I haven't finished House of the Dragon. I never
Mm.
watched the last episode. I don't know why, because I really enjoyed the show, but it was like I didn't have time to watch it for like 2 weeks. I just went, whatever.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Killing Eve, I never watched the last season. Once again, I really liked that show. I just can't be bothered anymore. I never finished.
Yeah.
There's so many shows that I really, really enjoyed. But I was like, I just can't be bothered anymore.
Same.
I didn't enjoy them as much as I thought I did.
But yeah, that does sound really good.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, bring it back to our topic for the week, which is we watched a show called Space Cadets from 2005, and it's a Channel 4 show. And yeah, do you want to explain why? Well, just to say why it's relevant is because like that show was like one person getting a prank played on them. This show was like a whole host of people getting the most expensive and ultimate prank played on them. It was like it's kind of like
Tagline. Yeah, yeah. So essentially, the plot of the show is that they put out a vague casting call. So the contestants think that they're going on to a thrill-seeking reality show, but it actually turns out to be Space Cadet. So it actually turns out they're being taken to space. However, it's a hoax. All of it. It's set to be a $4.5 million.
Apparently, they ended up spending $5 million in the end, so they even went over budget.
So basically, they convinced these contestants that they're going to be going to space. Is like the whole plot of it. So they do whatever they can to convince them that they're going to space / they're in space, traveling through space currently. And so they choose like 4 of people to be Britain's first space tourists, which in itself, I don't know, would you believe it, Dylan, if they told you were going to space, if you had no context of this show?
If I had no context...
And it wasn't now either, because they don't really do that now as much, but if it was like a few years back...
I don't know. I think I'm of two minds where, like, obviously watching it, I'm like, of course that wouldn't get me. But I think there is, like, I watched, what was the name of the video? But I watched this video and, it's Chris James has a really great video where he sums up this whole series, which, by the way, if after this you want to go watch someone, like, do a step-by-step breakdown of everything that happened, he did an amazing video on it. But in his video, he brought up a really great point about, like, psychology. And I think that the fact that everyone else is kind of believing it would also make me believe it. And I don't think it'd be one of those situations where, like, I would have it in me to have the doubt to begin with to start questioning it. So I think they'd be able to get me. Like that bit, or we'll get to it, but the bit where, like, they get told that they're going to space, like, I would have freaked out. I would have been like, I'm going to space! Do you think you would have got?
I think it's a tough one. I think I would have wanted to believe it. So I would have believed it for a little bit, but I wouldn't really believe it for long enough. Like, I would be, like, willingly ignorant for as long as I possibly could, and then it would be like, but deep down I know that it's not real. Like, I just play along.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where once it gets revealed, I'll just be like, oh, damn it.
Yeah.
I'm like, of course, I don't know why I let myself believe it. I think also, like, once again, we'll get into it when we break into the show, but, like, I think the bits where, like, they're putting in all the secrecy and the fact that, like, even the audition process was, like, something stupid, like, 5 months long, like, all of that would make me believe it even more, because I'd be like, I'd be like, why is this? Because the whole time I'd be like, why is there so much secrecy? Why are they putting into it? And then the fact that we're going to space, that would be like the payoff that I was waiting for. And I'd be like, oh, now everything makes sense why, like, they made us do so much, when really it was just to add to the effect. But yeah, definitely.
And to be fair, space tourism is the thing. Like, I saw, who was it last year who went to space? Someone who, like, a group of them, rich people go to space all the time. He was like,
I want to go to space.
And
I really want to go to space.
Like, I think it was like 3 of them that all went to space and came back, but it was in a day, so it wasn't like for a long time or anything. It was just literally going up into space, seeing what's around, and coming back down again.
I think I would. Would you want to go to space?
No, I don't think so. I'm terrified of, I have, like, really, like I've said a dozen times, me going into space and death anxiety, I don't think that goes well together. So I think I'd rather have my life.
Yeah, to be fair, I don't.
There's nothing that they could do to guarantee that I'd survive it. I would deeply, deeply believe that I was going to die. And even last year when they went, they were like, oh, if this is they always do those, like, kind of speeches where it's like, this could be the last time I see you, because it's still so dangerous to go up in space.
Yeah, I guess there is that element of it, isn't there? I don't know. I just think, like,
yeah, I mean, you don't have to change your mind.
No, I'm not going to. I still want to. If Elon Musk knocked on my door, it's like, we're going to space, I'm like, yes. That's what they should have done, though. They should have actually gotten like a billionaire, I mean, I'm
Yeah.
sure they all would have said no because I don't know why they would have done it. But they should have got like a billionaire or someone really famous slash rich to like be like, I'm sponsoring this. Because for me, if they did that, hands down, I'm in. Like I'm in. They could show me while we're in space. They could show me like a printed out picture plastered onto a window, and I would have believed it. And I would have been like, yeah, we're in space right now.
They could have got someone like Donald Trump to do it because he was into reality TV back then.
Yeah, and that does sound like something stupid that he'd do.
Yeah. I can't think of any other ones that are like rich and boring and like rich and like about entertainment and having like.
I think Elon might.
The rest of them,
but like,
maybe.
But he wasn't. Yeah. He wasn't big back then, I guess so.
But then Elon's a bit like, I'm a bit superior to this, so I don't know if he would at the same time.
Yeah. Well, should we go into episode 1? Unless you have anything else to say about the show at whole.
Not really, except that Neil Armstrong said that if this show works, he'd eat his own helmet, which I was kind of like, what does that mean? What does it mean for this show to work?
R.I.P. Okay. No, but at the same time, I was like, I'm sure they're just using all this stuff. Yeah, he died like.
Oh my god.
4 or 5 years ago, maybe 10. He died a long time ago. He's been dead for a while. Let me actually fact check this though. Unless, just in case Neil Armstrong is like sat at home like, who the hell is saying I'm dead?
When he died?
I'm not doing that maths. He's like 82. 82. Oh, I said I'm not doing that maths and then I did it very quick. He died in 2012. So he died a long time ago.
Okay.
This is giving me like that recent episode of The Receipts but in reverse. Where they said both Nearly was dead. Have you seen that?
Oh yeah, I did see it.
Just for context, on the Receipts podcast, great podcast by the way, go listen once you're done with this one. They said, Tolly brought up Milli Vanilli, and then Audrey said that they're both dead. But then people tweeted with the person who was alive from Milli Vanilli saying, he's alive, look. And the next episode, they were like, can you not at the people with the clips of us saying that they're dead next time, please? Anyway, sorry, go
on. So feel free to help along with this one because it was honestly a bit confusing making notes. So initially we have the selection process. So they first let us know, the host first lets us know that they eliminated everyone whose hobby was space related.
Yeah, they basically just said, if you're smart, if you know anything about space, you're out of here. Also, the host did he introduce himself?
No, because I don't think so.
I didn't think he did either. It just like kind of started and I was just like, oh, you're not even going to say his name is Johnny, by the way. But he didn't even say I'm Johnny or anything. It just kind of started and I was like, oh, this is actually a little bit rude.
Yeah. But he was all right. He wasn't bad.
I didn't like him. I find him a bit annoying. I'm not going to lie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but we'll get into it later. But yeah, they tested everyone. Yeah, that was really fun.
So then they tested their suggestibility, willingness to take a joke, and reactions to claustrophobia, which I think is quite smart actually in terms of.
Yeah, no, it really was. It really was. I think, and I also had the test like written down that they did exactly. So for the first test for the suggestibility, they had a dot test, and they basically told them that there's a face within the dots. But for all of them, there wasn't actually a face. But the way to pass the test to be like a valid candidate was like you needed, so the people that described faces that weren't actually there were like more suggestible per se.
Did you see a face within the dots?
There was one where I saw like a body, but the rest of them no. The only one I saw a face in properly was the one that actually had a face in it. But the rest of them I was like, yeah, this is just nonsense. But once again, we were in on the bit, so I feel like it's unfair for me to judge. The next test they did was marbles in a jar, which is another suggestibility test, and I think this one was really funny. Basically, you got brought into a room, they uncovered a jar that had like these eyeball marble things, and they said, okay, how many marbles do you think is in here? And then the people got a couple seconds to think about it, and then they said their number out loud, and then they were shown a chart, and on that chart was supposedly a chart where everyone else had written down their answers, and everyone else's answers on that chart were ridiculously high. And they wanted to see how much that person was going to change their answer dependent on what they were seeing on the board. So it was like in the actual jar, there was 203, I think. And so people were saying like 70, 80, 100. The chart would get flipped, and on the chart, everyone's numbers would be like 600, 700, 800. And the person would like add an extra 400 or like 500 to their answer, even though like the other guesses were obviously stupid. So they were also trying to see. I was like, I think that one would have got me actually.
Yeah, I don't think that one would have got me. But
No,
yeah.
I think I would have been like, oh, I'm stupid. I would be like, oh, I'm so dumb. The third test that they did was the claustrophobia one, and basically they got people in a sleeping bag, and they put like zip ties around them, and then they put blackout goggles on them, and then I think they had to just like lie there for like 20 minutes. And then the second claustrophobia test they did was on the way out on the lift would quote unquote break, and they wanted to see like how people reacted. And in each one of the lifts they had like these. Do we talk about the fact that there's axes embedded in this group?
No, we have not yet.
Yeah, so there's like within all the contestants that are being like tested, there are 3 people who are actually plants or like moles who are actors who are there to like help with the believability. So like in each of these lift scenarios, the actors would be there, and the actors would be trying their best to be as annoying as possible. Which reminds me, have you seen that TikTok of that girl who's in she's in a lift and they're stuck, and she's like, well, we were stuck and I just thought that I would whip out the guitar and like get everyone's moods high. And I think she's singing Country Roads or something at the top of her lungs, and everyone in the lift looks pissed. So funny. And then the last test that we saw was like everyone had to put their goggles on and dance, like blackout goggles, and they had to dance basically to no music because they wanted to see how silly everyone could get, basically, which I think is a really good one because it's like an uptight. You don't want anyone uptight, and I think also, yeah, it was good.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Then out of these 50 contestants, 9 were selected to take part with the consent of their parents, which I think is quite cute as well. Like, I think that makes it a bit better.
Yeah.
Because then
if anything, this is the show that we'll watch that I feel like has taken the most steps to try and be a little bit ethical in the slightest.
100%, I agree with that. So yeah, like Dylan said, there were 3 undercover actors. 2 were set out to like nudge things along from the inside. Charlie was definitely my favorite. He was put through the ringer.
I was reading an article about this show, and they were like, it wasn't clear who the joke was on, us as the audience, the contestants in there, or was it Charlie who was in hell? And I think Charlie was the main loser out of all of this.
He definitely. I would have dipped after a while with the amount, because he was the one who did the most embarrassing stuff out of everyone. It wasn't even the contestants.
Oh, bless him. No, Charlie was in hell. Charlie was in hell. When we do our little wrap up at the end, I read like some interviews with him afterwards, and he did not like the process at all.
So then they're basically told that they are going to space. Is this when they're told they're going to space?
Before this, sorry, I feel like we've missed out like the beginning chunk of the show where like before they go to space, they're gonna have to be trained essentially, and the training is meant to take place like in quote unquote Russia at what's it called, the Stars astronaut training program is where it's meant to take place, and which actually turns out to be in Ipswich, but we'll get to that a little bit later.
So basically they are told to get on a plane that's going to take them to Russia, and basically what the plane does is it just flies in a circle and flies up and down a little bit, and just lands them back in Kent, and then they drive to Ipswich from Kent, and that's all.
I don't think they even drove. They landed, and then they got in a helicopter.
I think that would be the thing I'd be most annoyed about, because at least let's make the reality show in Russia. Like how
Yeah. Apparently it was too
outside-
expensive. That's why they didn't do it. I think
outside-
they genuinely wanted to do that, but they just didn't have the budget.
that's what I'd be annoyed about, because it's like I didn't even, yeah, anyway, I'd be fuming about that bit. So yeah, then they kind of tell you how they made the camp that they go to but as realistic as possible. They changed the sockets, they had food, they made sure all the English was taken off, so it was all in Russian, and like every signing was in Russian, like down to like the uniforms people wore. As they were arriving in, they were like tanks
Not tranks.
driving past and like armed guards telling them to like get out, and like it was quite intense.
Like
so
yelling at them in Russian accents. It was a lot actually. And like I think
I'd be for a day.
They said that they apparently flew to Russia to buy the props for everything. I really don't believe that they did that. When they were like, because in the show they were like, we flew the team, we flew the set design team out to Moscow so they could go to the Russian markets. I was like, you probably, I mean, I don't know where the Russian part of London is, but you probably went to the Russian neighborhood of London and bought the stuff there. Because I know it's 2005 and like obviously Amazon isn't a thing, but I mean, I guess it was a thing, but it wasn't like a big thing. But I don't believe that you guys flew out to Russia to buy props.
Yeah.
Feels a little bit ridiculous.
When Amazon exists. Did it exist back then? I don't know.
Amazon started in like, I think the 90s, late 90s. But it wasn't like what it is today. It was like, yeah. I think eBay was definitely around. They could have found some Russian stuff on eBay. Come on.
Yeah, that's true. Anyway, they're then introduced to Richard. Oh, sorry, my pronunciation today is so bad. I don't know why. The commander. And it's told they're going to be also sleeping in shared dormitories. And only 4 of them would actually get to go to space in the end. So it's kind of like a selection process that they're going to be going through. And yeah. You can carry on from here, Dylan.
Yeah. So basically, when they get to this Russian place, quote unquote Russian, which is actually Ipswich, they're put through some training, which is like 80%. By the way, this is the end of episode. Episode 1 ended with them finding out about them actually going to space, and that this is what it was all for, and that it's not thrill seekers, which was the fake name that they were given, but rather Space Cadets, which is a show about British tourism in space, yada yada. But once they arrive to the training camp, they get told that they're gonna be given like some training, and they get physical training by. They actually managed to get like an ex-KGB guy called Valery, who is actually Russian, and like put them through the actual training that astronauts go through, and they got given lectures and like different like tasks to do and stuff like that. And they would like genuinely, I think they said about 80% of the tasks that they were given were real actual astronaut training protocols, and only 20% of it was like ridiculous. But the 20% that they gave was also like really stupid, like making them do like weird yoga poses in morph suits, and like teaching them like bogus like lingo and stuff, which was meant to be like space speech. And they spent 3 weeks doing that, and then at the end of that 3 weeks was when they were going to go to space. At the end of that 3 weeks was when the selection process happened, which is where 4 people out of the 12 in total, plus the 3 actors, were going to get picked. And the people that were picked were Charlie, who in like the post interview at the end, and in many articles, he was like, I hated that moment where he got picked. Like, he said he genuinely wanted to cry, because he was like, because he got into this weird moment where, like, because he was having to pretend like this was real, like he genuinely was starting to question what was and wasn't real. So he was getting really into quote unquote character, and he was like, oh, I just feel like other people deserve to be going to space, yada yada, because in his mind, like, this was real. And then the other people that were picked were Paul, who's a lovely man from, I think, like West Country, because he sounded like he had like a bit of a Somerset accent. There was Billy, and there was Kerry, who was picked. And then once they were picked, they were basically prepped to go to space. And I bet you're wondering, how do they do the whole going to space bit? Because I also wondered that as well. Because originally I just skipped to the last episode, which is what we normally do. But like the last episode starts very weird, and I was like, I have no idea what's going on anymore. Like this was
it was actually a shock.
Yeah, genuinely, it was very weird.
I messaged it and I was like, what the hell is going on?
She was like, I'm gonna need some time to understand what's happening. So I had to go back and I watched a little bit of the episodes, and then I said that I watched that Chris James's guy's video. But essentially how they made them think that they were going to space was they had a set that was used in this film called Space Cowboy, and then on top of that they attached that set to hydraulics so they could like move the actual spacecraft around and jiggle it and stuff. And then they also got like a sound engineer in who basically got like movie theater speakers and like put them next to this tiny little thing so that it would sound like they were actually taking off. And they were explained. And the other thing that I had a question about was like, how do they not realize they're not in space? Because they know they're not floating around. But the way they were explained, it was they were not going to out of space, they were going near space. And that also their spacecraft had anti-gravity things that vibrated at a certain frequency that got rid of that floatiness. And I was like, that would have been where I was like, I would have been like, I'm not sure about this.
Yeah, no, I definitely would have been suspicious by that point.
Yeah, I think so, definitely. I think the bits with like the morph suits where they're doing like yoga poses, I was like, that's what I'd be like, this feels like I'm being made fun of. And I feel like maybe now this isn't real. But anyway, so once they get kitted out and they get put onto the spacecraft, like they're going up to space, those four, and then there's two pilot engineers, or like two pilots who are actually axes, and their names are Alex and Drew. I think Drew is meant to be from America and Alex is like meant to be from like the Russian space thingamajig, basically.
I was going to say it sounds kind of crazy in description in terms of what they were put in, but it's basically like, I don't know if anyone's ever been in a simulator before. I've been in two. I've been in like an earthquake simulator and a roller coaster simulator, and they both were good. The earthquake simulator was actually in Iceland where they'd had an
This is getting more and more random, but yeah. Your description is adding more questions to my mind.
But yeah.
No, wait, no, Gary. They in Iceland. Why do they have the earthquake simulator?
Oh, because there'd been like a massive earthquake in Iceland. So we were in this small town that had been like, it was like a farm that had been affected by it. There was a volcano nearby, and then they were telling us about how like their lives changed when this earthquake took place. So because obviously no, it wasn't an earthquake, it was like the volcano then erupted basically, and there was like just yeah.
Oh my god, no, I'm not laughing, it's not funny, but I'm just saying it's horrific.
No, yeah.
And so what, they built a simulator so they can relive their trauma? Like what?
No, because they were like far enough that it was mostly like the ash covered their plants. So like it just destroyed their crops. But what they did is they collected all of the ash or something and they sold it at this place. So they made like a museum. It was actually quite innovative, where it's like an earthquake simulator, and then there's ash that they sell from the volcano eruption, and they just tell their story.
Bless them. I hope they're all right now. I'm glad they found a way to turn their trauma into dollars. Yeah. Gosh, how sad. But yeah, you are right. It was just like a simulator, basically. So they were being shaken. The only thing was like they nearly messed up on 3AK on 3 reasons. Like this was like moments in the show where it nearly all fell apart. Bear in mind, like this is now a year into like the process of since they started making the show. So when they were getting the contestants into like their space shuttle, quote unquote, Kerry like kicked something, and the thing that she kicked was like a curtain, and it nearly fell. And if that fell, it was going to reveal the fact that they were just in a set somewhere
Oh.
and not actually getting into a spaceship. Number two that nearly did it was when they did their countdown. They're like 3, 2, 1. The simulator started, the sound didn't start. So like they were just getting jiggled about in silence. But then luckily the two actors, Alex and Drew, started like just saying absolute nonsense. So like, yeah, so takeoff initiation has been rechecked. Yep, Cogno 65 is in place. All right, we're ready to take off again, ground control. And then they did it again, and they got taken like 3, 2, 1, and then the sound came on. And then the third time was also because it was like obviously they had no way of simulating G-force, so like
Yeah.
everyone was just like, this is like gentle. They're like, this is like a nice car ride basically. And I was thinking with the after the countdown and that nothing happened, I would have been terrified. So I'd be like, is something wrong with the spaceship? That's when I would have been like filled with anxiety. I think maybe that would have been like, get me off! I don't want to do this anymore. But apart from that,
I think by that point, I honestly would not believe it at all, but I'd be having a fun time.
I think the no G's thing, the fact that they were just like kind of vibrating like this the whole time, I would have been like, yeah, this is yeah, something's off. Yeah, something's. But I think at that same time, I think we wouldn't have got picked for that specific reason. I don't think we would have got picked to begin with.
No.
I think the fact that I like fantasy would have instantly. They would have been like, well, fantasy is next to sci-fi, which is next to space, so get out of here.
I think I would have been picked.
I think you would have been a really funny addition to the show.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think you would have figured it out, and I think you would have been a second actor in the mix. Yeah.
Like, I do like chaos. So sometimes I just like.
I think I can imagine you like whispering to like either one of the technicians or like whispering to the camera, like, okay, I know this isn't real, but can I get folded in? You just give me lines, I'll do them.
Exactly.
And then after they like
ask questions. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'd be the one to be like, so guys, you know, how are you gonna feel telling your mum and dad like your life's gonna completely change? What's next for you? And like, I would definitely like try and embarrass them as much as possible. I'd do my role.
Better than Chris, because Chris was having like moral quandary after moral quandary. But basically once their takeoff is done, like the shuttle, like the shutter on the shuttle like lifted up and showed them their view of planet Earth from the sky. And two of them cried because they thought it was so beautiful. And then I think it was like oh god, it was Paul who said like I just can't understand from up here why there's conflict down there when I'm looking at such a beautiful view, which is apparently exactly what Buzz Aldrin said when he went into space and saw the Earth at the time. So they were like, I guess like you were in like the same mindset that like astronauts when they were just looking at a monitor. And apparently that nearly got messed up because the projector where it was, there was a moth flying around and like it nearly flew in front of the projector. And so when they're in space, like they're being given like different tasks to do, and like this is when I think they start like trying to get them to realize that it's fake, because they start doing more and more increasingly stupid stuff to these people. I haven't watched the middle episodes, but this was giving me the vibes of like Boy Meets Boy and like the moment of truth, Shattered, where like I think they didn't think too far enough in the process that once they got
that's what I was gonna say.
We don't know what to do with these people anymore, and we got ordered 9 episodes by Channel 4, so let's like just I guess do funny skits and stretch them over an hour.
Yeah, because once you get to the final episode, it's just a bit ridiculous by this point. Yeah. So they have like you have the people who actually get to go to space, which I think we said, but also just to double check in case you didn't say, were Paul, Billy, and Kerry, aside from Charlie, who was the other addition. And so what starts off is like Charlie feels really unwell, and then he starts making all these really bizarre noises, and they're like, he just needs to have a poo. And then at the same time they ran out of that room that he was in.
They literally all sprinted.
They all sped away with force to get away from Charlie, and they make it like he's got a worm in him.
Yeah, so like who was it? Drew, who was like one of the actors / producers, gives Charlie a worm and is like, you need to pretend like you shat this out. And then they also give him like a stink bomb and like, you need to pretend like you pooed this out. But this is like in the first like 3 minutes of the episode, like no context, no warming up. They just say, well, they're about to be revealed in 30 minutes. Let's see what they're doing. And now we're into literal poo humor.
I think when you start stooping as low as poo humor, that is when you know that you've lost the plot on the show. There's nowhere else you can go, because that is just like bottom of the barrel type of humor.
Literally, bottom of the toilet.
So that happened. And then after that, a dog dies. Whose dog was it that died?
So it was meant to be. So on the flight, there is pilot Drew, who is like an American pilot, and then there is pilot Alex, who is meant to be like the Russian pilot. And the dog's ashes, I think, are meant to be the ashes of like a Russian dog that's been to space. And basically it's like, yeah.
So random.
It was like, yeah, we brought the ashes up here because, you know, since the dog loved space so much, we wanna give him his
That's how you can tell
here.
this show lost its plot, because what?
Insane. And the day before, they were like the people in the space contestants were asked to like come up with the song, but they weren't told what the song was for. So like after this memorial for the dog, then they have to sing the song that they prepared, which was obviously stupid, but they didn't know that it was meant to be for a dog's funeral. And like Drew and Alex kept on like being like, you guys need to stop laughing because this is very serious. Like we're grieving this dog. So can you please like have a bit of grace, have a little bit of decorum? Which is when I think it being a prank like starts to clock on to a couple of people.
Yeah.
Because Carrie didn't believe it at all.
Especially when the ashes get dropped on the floor.
They smashed the ashes on the floor, and Carrie was like, while she was singing the song, she was like, this is so stupid. It's like the only thing that could make this stupider is if the ashes fell on the floor. And then it happened, and that's when she was like, no, this is too much now. She was like, this is like this is like too stupid that I'm not too sure what's going on.
And then after that, the group just progressively start to get more suspicious, and then you just kind of see them be suspicious. Was it Billy, his name, who was going on about a scale? I'm just guessing this, by the way, because he looked like a Billy, but maybe it was Paul, but he looked more like he'd be called Billy. So
Billy was the one that was sharing a bed with. Oh yeah, by the way, I didn't even.
So Paul was the one who got suspicious.
Kerry and Billy started a romance during, I don't know when this happened, but like during the 3 weeks, that's why if you noticed there was a bit where they were in bed together.
Sharing a bed, but I didn't.
And I was like, what? And then I googled it, and she was like, yeah, I'm glad. Well, I didn't get to go to space, but I got to find the love of my life, and I was like, oh, that's cute.
They're still together.
I don't know if they're still together now, but like post when the show was airing, they were still together. Yeah, they're both from Birmingham as well, so like. Maybe they were able to have a couple year long relationship. Maybe they have kids now. That'd be insane. I couldn't find either of them anywhere. But yeah, Paul was the one that's getting suspicious, and he was talking to Charlie. He was like, "It's just not making sense. Why would they have the scale that I have in my bathroom on a spaceship?"
He's obsessed with that scale. I can't believe that's the thing he latched onto. Because that would not convince
there wasn't any gravity
anymore. Yeah, of all the things, that is not the thing that I would latch onto.
Oh, Charlie was so stressed though while he was having to like talk Paul off the edge, and apparently he was like, that was the third worst thing for him, because he was like, apparently that conversation went on for like 3 hours, And it's like I had to sit there and gaslight him and tell him that he was insane and that like obviously we're in space. But he obviously knew that Charlie was right. I mean, Paul was right. And Paul was so lovely.
So what happens after that for them to be revealed? Because they then start looking into the
So
camera.
basically they get told that they're gonna do like a spacewalk. So this is gonna be them able to like go out to space. They get taken to like the mini shuttle that's gonna take them out, but only 3 of them can go. And Charlie, since obviously he's just pooed out a worm, is like, oh, I'm not gonna do it, guys. So you 3 just go ahead without me. So the 3 of them get kitted out and they sit down in this little shuttle thing, and there's a little like laptop that's there, and then there's like an announcement that comes over, and they're basically like, yeah, so you guys have believed that you've been in space for the last 5 days, and we just thought that we'd show you some highlights from this whole trip. And it's basically like like a compilation of all the moments when they were like asking questions about different things and be like, well, this isn't making any sense, and this isn't making any sense, and this isn't making any sense. And like as they play the video, everyone in there, like Paul, Billy, and Kerry all start to like slowly cotton on and be like, wait, why are they showing us our doubts? And while this is happening, they're getting like moved in front of a live audience, which is made up of like their ex like the people that they went training with, and then also their parents as well. And then they get wheeled out in front of them, and then the shuttle comes out, and then they are revealed to not be in space, but instead be just in a warehouse.
Yeah, sadly. So.
But they all took it really well, though.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. The only person who I think was quite sad about it was Kerry. She was genuinely looking forward to. Was she mentioning like stuff about her ex? I think she really wanted to. In the episode, she mentioned something to do with her ex.
Yeah.
Like, I think she really just wanted to be like,
look at me, I'm in space now with my new boyfriend.
Yeah. So couldn't do that.
Now she has to be like, look at me, I thought I went to space for like 3 weeks. The post-show interview was quite funny. I think my favorite bit was when John was like, where do you guys think you are? And they're like, we're in Russia though, aren't we? And then they were like, you're in Ipswich. And they were like
no, that's when I get angry, because it's like, you didn't even take me to Russia. I've been in the UK for the past 3 weeks.
The whole taking them to Russia thing was like, it was a hat on a hat, to be honest. I think that's a bit, and to be honest, for me as well, that's a bit that I would have believed the most. Even if I didn't believe about the space bit, if you told me that I wasn't in Russia, that's when I'd be like, what is going on?
Yeah, literally. And then they were given like a consolation prize, which was to experience true weightlessness. The vomit comet or something like that.
The vomit. So they're gonna get sent. They're actually gonna get to go to Russia, basically, and they're gonna go to the thing.
I go now that the show's over.
I know, but apparently every contestant got this as well. Every contestant got £5,000, and then every contestant actually got the chance to go do the real training and actually get to be in a real simulator and do everything.
Did they do it?
Thought they were doing. I don't know if anyone did, to be honest. It sounds like something that gets promised and then it's like it will happen in 3 years, and then in 3 years time you're like, why am I gonna uproot, why am I gonna take 3 weeks off work to go to Russia? I'm not gonna do that. But the 3 of them who thought they were in space got given £25,000 as well.
Yeah, that's all right. It's not great. Kerry was like all right.
Yeah. she was a bit like, oh, okay. But I will say, I will commend the show, because I think, number one, I think the reveal was handled quite well, and I think the way they did the reveal was funny for the audience, but it also was nice to them, because I think it was like revealed in layers and layers and layers, as opposed to like just slapping them in the face with it.
Yeah, although I do think it made it like slightly anticlimactic in the end, because if they'd just done it when they were genuinely convinced, that would have been shocking. But they did it when I think was convinced.
I think they were worried about, like, I think they don't want someone to have a bad reaction. I think that's always what it is. Like, it's not it won't look good for them if someone like has a full-on freak out, because it's like, actually no, you did do something really mean and that person's valid. I think apparently one person actually got really angry when they got told.
Really?
one of the other contestants, they got really angry when they got told about it not being space, and they had to get like taken off and talked to and like calm down,
Oh.
basically, because they were like genuinely really angry when they found out they were in Ipswich and not in Russia. It's just fair enough. Which is fair enough.
Although I did accidentally watch a clip of the previous contestants being told that it was a hoax, and they were laughing because they were like, "Oh, thank God, no one's going to space."
Yeah, no, I would want to be in that group.
I was actually so annoyed that I wasn't going to space, but now I hear that none of us are going. This is amazing. That's what they loved it.
No, I can imagine for them, it's probably like you're feeling so downtrodden, and you're like, I just can't believe I'm not the one going to space, and then getting to hear that, oh, actually, they're going to be made even bigger tickets for the next.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, this is beautiful. That would make my day.
Yeah.
I think the show would have been even better as well if instead of them entering, I don't think they should have gone to space, actually. I think they should have ended the show like them thinking they were getting onto the space shuttle, and then, you know, when the shuttle revealed, it should have been then that they revealed to the audience.
Yeah.
But putting them in space was like a little bit much.
I agree. I think that's when they dragged it out. But making them think that they went and then taking them out as soon as like the takeoff's kind of been.
Yeah.
So should we go to best, worst, weirdest?
Yeah.
So what was your best moment?
My best moment, I don't know. I have so many, actually. I think for me though, oh gosh, I think for me my best moment was maybe actually them smashing the thingamajig on the floor, the dog's ashes, because I was like, oh, this is stupid, but this is like the kind of stupid that makes me go.
No, mine's in a similar vein because I think
Actually, no, sorry, I'm lying. Can I just say my best? We didn't talk about it, but like part of the selection process, they had to go to Cumbria for like a day or two and like do a whole training, like going down like mountain stuff. And in that phase, one of the actors, Steve, was having the worst day of his life, because he when they were like doing the rappelling down a boulder, he like tripped. When they had to jump into water at one point, and like he hated it. And then at one point he just went and like sat in a car somewhere and was like just talking to producers like, I need to call my agent. He was like, I hate this. This is the worst thing I've ever done.
Oh my God.
And he literally said, you guys are not paying me enough to do all of this stupidness. No one told me how to do exercise. It's so funny.
No, it was a lot actually. I was thinking, I think I'd be out at that point.
Yeah, I was like, being actors seemed like the least fun, because like now you're having to do all of this nonsense on top of everything else that they had to do. Stupid.
Yeah. I would say mine would be just Charlie in general, everything they made him do.
Oh, bless Charlie.
I think he made the show.
No, he really did.
Made it run around, and he really was like working like he was due rent. That's how much effort he put in.
His rent probably was due, and
Yeah.
I can imagine that he was actually so pissed off when he heard that they were getting 25k, because it's like, why am I not getting paid that much?
No, it's so true. He deserves.
And did you know Billy and Charlie as well? Well, he mentioned it, but Billy and Charlie had met each other before the show.
Oh.
At an audition.
Oh.
Because he was like, Billy was like, pardon?
So how did Billy not guess then?
I don't know. Billy said that he felt like an idiot when he was like getting his post-show interview. Because he's like, I feel like an idiot because like me and Charlie have met before, and like when we were like contestants, we talked about the fact that we met at an audition once.
Oh my God.
Oh gosh, so funny.
What about your worst?
my worst moment is gosh, probably I actually think my worst moment is actually the torment that they put Charlie through, because as much as I loved it, I felt really bad for him. And like in his post-show interview, like the interviews that he did with The Guardian, he was like, this was like hands down one of the worst things that I've ever done. And he was
Oh
like,
my
I would never do
God.
it again. He was like, he said it took him like a couple of weeks after the show, because he was like, I was in such a weird state where like I was having to pretend like it was real for so long that like
He
I'd
seems so
half
emotional.
yeah, he was like I had half convinced myself that it was real for like half of it. It's like even when we left, like I still couldn't like align myself with the fact that this was all a ruse and that even I was in on it. And it was like ever since then reality has been like a little bit warped for me, and I was like, oh my God.
Okay, so maybe they should have done checks on the participants, not just the.
Honestly. And even Charlie was like for him, he said it in like the post-show interview as well, but like he was like, yeah, I found like the whole telling them, that was a moment where he was like, I shouldn't be doing this, because he was like, it was so surreal to be around all these people that were like genuinely like elated that they were going to space. He was like, I've never seen people so happy, and for me to know that this is all a joke, he was like, I found it revolting, was the words that he used.
Oh my gosh, bless
I think
him.
he hated the show and he wouldn't have done it again. He writes like politics articles now.
Oh, okay. My worst was, it's hard. There weren't really any bad moments in this show, I don't think. I think maybe like the final part of the show before they clicked. I like them like sort of starting to understand, but I also think that could have been done better. Like it could have been of a climax. So I think the climactic bit was a bit more of a letdown. But it wasn't bad, but it just wasn't it was the worst bit of the show, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think for me, my weirdest is definitely the poo bit. Like that was it was just so unbelievably jarring to like click onto that episode and be like,
because it was in the first, literally as soon as you click on that episode, it's Charlie has a worm in his ass.
Charlie needs to pretend like he's pooed out this worm. And I was like, what are we watching? I was like, this is not the stage show. That's when I paused. I had to do some reading. So I need to like figure out what was going on in between. I'm trying to think if there's any other Oh yeah, Kerry also. Gosh, everyone from the show. Well, actually, I think Paul and Billy were fine, but Kerry in like an interview was like, yeah. After the show, she was like, before she went on the show, she was like a really trusting person. Like, she was like, I feel like I was just like really like upbeat and happy, and just like ever since the show, I've like always second guessed people, and like I no longer really trust anyone anymore. That was like, damn.
Yeah.
I miss that quality about me, the being like carefree and like trusting people, because just like I think that was one of my best qualities, and I just can't seem to get it back. And I was like, oh. Damn.
Yeah. So my question is, to conclude this, would you have watched this show, and like, would you recommend to watch it, kind of thing?
I would have 100% watched it, and I would recommend. I would say this is my favorite show we've watched so far. I know it got weird towards the end, but I think this is my favorite. This was like the most like of everything that tried to do like this playing a prank on people. This feels like the one that put the most effort and thought into it.
100%.
I genuinely, I know I say it a lot, but like this time I genuinely mean it. I'm going to say genuinely one more time just to show you how genuine I am. But I think Netflix should buy this premises or just do it, because this would be so funny to do to people, especially to do to like the kind of people that reality shows attracts nowadays, because this would be hilarious. And I know that especially if it's American, I know they're not going to react well, and I think that's going to be even better. So like if you get a host of like suggestible people who aren't very nice, who are very obviously there for fame, and then do all this, and if you have like a bigger budget and you're able to like really amp up like the space and the space shuttle element of it, then you're gonna have a great show, and it's gonna be hilarious.
No, I agree. I would have watched this as well, and I would have enjoyed it.
Definitely.
I think it kind of reminds me of like CBBC a little bit, just that type of vibe. Yeah.
I think even like even the I lost my train of thought. I'm so sorry. Yeah, but yeah, you're all right. It gives me like CBC. It gives me like game show vibe. Not game show, but it gives me like funny vibes. I think. Oh, even the comments. Sorry, I remember now. Even the comments on like the YouTube videos of this show were like saying, "This is like my second time watching this," or "This is like my third time watching this," or like, "I remember watching this back in the day and loving it, and I've been looking for it ever since, and I'm so glad that I can watch it again." I think I would if we hadn't like had to film this episode. I think I would have like actually watched every episode because I was genuinely interested after episode 1, and I was like, this is the first show where like start to finish I've like enjoyed watching it. Like they did a good job. They did a really good job. I'm impressed.
Yeah, very true.
And apparently, who was it? Johnny Vaughn regrets doing it. The host.
Oh, really?
I would have never done it again. Yeah, he said that was the last thing he ever did on TV. He said I'll never do TV again. Because he was like, I just feel like it was actually unnecessarily cruel, was what he was saying. And even he vetoed a lot of things that he wanted, that the producers wanted them to do to the castmates. And on top of that, he also like felt really bad about lying to people. So the whole them getting to go to Russia part was because he was like, I don't want to lie to these people when I tell them that they're going to go to a Russian space station.
Yeah.
So if we make that part, he was like, that's the only way I'll do it if it's like actually true, and these people actually get to like kind of train to be astronauts properly and not as a practical joke.
My thing is though, I just don't think it's that deep.
No, it's not. I think it's so funny.
Whatever.
I think this was really funny, and I think this hit like the really good note that I think all those other shows try to do, where it's kind of making fun of people but in a funny way, but not in a way that feels too cruel. Like it feels mean, but not in the way that like Boy Meets Boy was mean. Like that felt like making fun of someone. This one felt like haha, like this is like kind of silly, and it feels like the people involved would find it funny. How would you react if you, let's say that you actually believed it? How would you react?
I think I would be annoyed. Just because I just know myself, and in theory I'd find it funny, but in practice, if I actually fell for it, I just don't like surprises like that. So I think I'd be annoyed. Do you not think I'd be annoyed?
I think you would actually. I think you just go, oh, okay, can I go home now?
Exactly. I wouldn't like freak out on live TV because I'm not really a freak out type of person, but internally I'd just be like, I want to go home now. Like I wouldn't give them the like I genuinely just silent in the corner.
I think I would have found it really funny. I think I would have cried with laughter once it lifted up and showed that I was just sat on a set. I'm like, I'm such an idiot. Gosh, I think I would have really liked it actually. So
I think I'd find it funny like a year later, but not at the time.
I think it takes
like a little while for things to sink in for me and for me to find them funny. Then I do find them funny, but like at the time, I don't think I would have laughed.
It would have just been like, oh, so I'm a dickhead. Is that what you're saying? Cool.
Yeah. I don't like it when I feel like people have played me. I just think that annoys me. I think I
would have really found this funny. I would have been like, well done. You guys did a really good job. Especially if I genuinely believed it, then I would have been like, you guys did a very good job because I'm very astute. Do you know who this definitely wouldn't have worked on though? My mother.
Oh, really?
Because, yeah, well, number one, she doesn't want to go to, she's been very adamant to me that she's like, I would never want to go to space. She's not interested in the slightest. But then second of all, she is the most, I don't even know if you know this about my mom, but she's the most like astute, or like the most, she will notice things very easily. And I'm telling you, they would forget to like cover one plug socket, or they would like have one exit sign that's in English, and she'd be like, what is that for?
I think that's a mum thing in general, because my mum is very perceptive as well. Like nothing, it's like one of those things where there's no secret that I could ever keep in my life. My mum always knows stuff. Like she'll always have like, you know, checked my bag to see if I've got any laundry that needs to be taken. or stuff like that, or like just entered, like she knows everything.
That's not what I'm talking. I'm talking about the fact that when I got my ear pierced, I changed my WhatsApp profile picture, but like you could barely see my ear piercing because it was like a group photo of me, and like my ear piercing is like really. It wasn't even this one. It was when I had like my stud in, so it was like really small. And my mom not zoomed in on it, took a screenshot, then zoomed in again and took a screenshot and sent it to me over WhatsApp. And I was like, "What is this?" And I was like, "Why are you looking at my WhatsApp picture? Why are you zooming in? How did you even see that little speck in that group picture that I took?" And she's also, well, I guess she's also like, her job is like, she has to notice really small details.
Yeah.
So sometimes you'll be places and she'll just be like, "Wow, look at that." Like, she'll be like, "Oh, that wall there is cracking. I bet there's like some mold or something in here." And I'm like, "Why are you looking up there when we're in a restaurant? Just like eat your food, love."
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I really enjoyed that show.
Yeah, it was. What have we got on the lineup for next week?
For next week we have Are You Hot? / Married by America. And
We'll see what that is.
We'll see what it is. Maybe
Tune in next week.
It might not be the next episode.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, review, watch on YouTube, all that stuff that Dylan normally says.
Yeah, if you enjoyed this, please follow us on our socials at What in the Naughties, What's in the 00S on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And if you're watching on YouTube, give us a like, give us a little cheeky comment. You know, tell us what you think about space. Tell us if you would have done the show, if you think that we would have got if we were on the show. Give us your honest opinions, because I think there's a big part of me that's like, I want to say no, but I think yes, I think I would have been able. Oh, bless you. I think I would have been able to got until I was in the space shuttle. Then I'd be like, something's not adding up here. But yeah, hope you enjoyed this episode, and that is where we shall end it.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.